How did Homelander go from lasering more faces than corrective eye surgery to being a sniveling nobody in spandex?
Stop! You owe me.
Well, in this video, we're going to break down the entire history of the boys' most complex character. Before Homelander became the face of the Seven, before the speeches, before the man-child tantrums, and people treating him like a god, there was just a boy named John. Homelander didn't have the humble beginnings of most people. He didn't grow up in a normal household with a mom packing his lunch, a dad teaching him how to throw a ball, or some sweet little origin story about discovering his powers in a backyard surrounded by a white picket fence. Instead, Homelander was created by Vought International, a giant corporation behind pretty much every Supe. On the surface, they sell heroism. They have films, theme parks, interviews, merchandise, brand deals, and patriotic speeches. Kinda like how Marvel would be if the mutant gene was a real thing. But behind the squeaky clean image, Vought is much darker. They are not really in the hero business, as there's very little profit in that. Instead, they are in the power business. Supes are products, weapons marketed as celebrities, and Homelander is their flagship product. Vought is all about public image, a trait that embedded itself deep in the leader of the Seven. Most of the Supes and the boys get their powers through Compound V, a drug Vought cooked up to give certain test subjects powers. Vought describes the powers as if they are miracles from birth, but really a lot of these heroes were just injected when they were too young to remember. Their parents usually made some shady deals which were covered up, leaving the heroes thinking they were the chosen and blessed. But Homelander's origin is even weirder than that.
What? I beat my meat into a cup. Turns out, Vogelbaum made a kid. Born spring, 1981. A boy.
Yep, he wasn't just given Compound V. He was created in a lab using the genetic material of the legendary super Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy was Vought's original patriotic superhero. Think Captain America if every other sentence out of his mouth was a slur. He was the leader of Payback, an earlier Supe team that came before the Seven. To the public, he was sold as a war hero, a symbol of American strength, and the kind of man people were supposed to admire, a big shield and an even bigger ego. But as the show later reveals in Season 3, Soldier Boy was not exactly the clean hero Vought advertised. He was violent, arrogant, bitter, selfish, and deeply insecure.
What do you say, gunpowder? Give him the 4th of July.
Let's light him up, Soldier Boy.
Please put that down.
Oh, well. You realize they make case officers is pretty easy.
Vought eventually decided that it was time to create a new lapdog who would be more obedient. That's where Homelander comes into the picture. Soldier Boy might be Homelander's biological father, but he was not an actual dad. In fact, he had no idea he had a son until much later. This is a huge reason why Homelander is so messed up. He spends his whole life desperate for family, desperate for love, desperate for someone to look at him like a person and not a cheesy billboard model. When he finally does meet his father, it isn't exactly a beautiful family reunion, but we'll get to that later. The closest Homelander had to family was the man who cooked him up in the lab, Jonah Vogelbaum. Which is pretty tragic if you ask me, but even he isn't proud of him.
You should have been raised in a home with a family who loved you, not in a cold lab with doctors.
If that doesn't explain why Homelander has so many daddy issues, I don't know what will. Homie soon realizes that he's not even considered a person. His actual name, John, is quickly forgotten by everyone around him. Now he's just a product, a slogan, something printed on lunchboxes, and Vought's studio movie posters to bring in the big bucks. He's nothing more than the nation's golden boy and leader of the Seven. For those new to the boys universe, they are basically Vought's top superhero team, like the Avengers. They're meant to be the best of the best. When Homelander starts reflecting on the fake childhood story manufactured by Vought, he realizes that all the lines he's fed about values, faith, family, loyalty, and country are just as phony as his bleached blonde hair.
That's me in the middle. Love you, Mom, Dad.
And the sad thing is, part of him seems to want those things to be real. So he clearly wants to overcompensate for the love and admiration he didn't get from childhood. In fact, he needs it, which is something Vought took advantage of. In Season 4, when Homelander goes back to the lab where he was raised, he talks to Barbara, another Vought employee connected to his early years. Barbara is not some random employee, she remembers the old days, especially the things they did to him.
Vought brought in the best psychologists in the world.
We developed the protocol to carefully engineer that need so that you would be obedient.
Yeah, that's right. They made him crave approval in order to keep him in line. Now that's pretty sick. That made his psyche unstable. If the public loves him, he feels like a god. If the public turns on him, he starts to fall apart. If someone rejects him, it doesn't feel like a normal rejection. It feels like the ultimate betrayal. Now, add the fact that he has laser eyes and super strength. That becomes a bit of a problem. Homelander isn't dangerous just because he's powerful. Plenty of the characters in the boys' universe have powers. He's dangerous because he has the emotional maturity of an eggplant, while having the ability to instantly turn an entire room into a pile of red slop. With that kind of psychological damage and power, it was always destined to end badly. So after Vought creates Homelander, raises him in a lab, builds a fake childhood around him, and turns him into a walking American flag with abandonment issues, the next big question is pretty simple. What happens when Vought decides to let their creation out into the real world? Well, shockingly, it doesn't go well. For his early Supe career, we need to jump into The Boys Presents Diabolical, the animated spin-off series. While not every episode of Diabolical is canon, the episode 1 + 1 = 2 has been confirmed by Eric Kripke, the showrunner and creator, to be canon. This gives us a lot of insight into Homelander's earliest missions after joining the Seven, and honestly, it explains a lot.
Well, Vought is the big leagues for someone like me. A chance to use my gifts to help make the world a better place.
This is where John goes from being a human lab rat to trying to fulfill his expectations of being the Homelander. This is when he's less experienced, more nervous, and desperate to portray the character Vought wants him to be. At this point, he wants to be a hero. Well, he wants to be seen as a hero. By this point, he's being introduced as the new golden boy of the Seven and the future of the company. But he's not walking into a brand new team. There are already other Supes who have earned their stripes, including Black Noir. Black Noir is one of the Seven's most mysterious members. He wears a full black suit, never speaks, and acts more like an assassin than a superhero. He just shows up, does the job, and leaves bodies behind. Then there's Madeline Stillwell. Madeline is a high-ranking Vought executive who becomes one of the most important people in Homelander's early adult life. She plays a huge role in the company's business side and knows how to talk to the shareholders, reporters, politicians, and Supes. More importantly, she knows how to talk to Homelander. She strokes his ego, flatters him, and plays into the desperate need to be wanted and admired.
Being on stage, all those people who wanted to be you.
Unfortunately, Stillwell puts a dangerous idea in Homelander's head while trying to manipulate him. She tells him not to let Black Noir upstage him on their next mission, which changes everything. Later, the Seven get called to Cruise Chemical, a chemical plant on Staten Island. A group called the Chemical Liberation Front has taken hostages inside the facility.
We didn't want to do this, but Cruz left us no choice. Drift into our schools, our parks, our homes.
So this mission is messy from the start, as the hijackers are trying to stop everyone from getting poisoned. As these guys see themselves as activists trying to force change, the smart move would have just been patience. So naturally, Vought sends in the emotionally unstable lab experiment with laser eyes. At first, Homelander tries to handle it like a real hero. He arrives before Black Noir, which gives him a chance to prove himself and not share the spotlight. At first, he tries talking them down, and after that fails, he disarms them. But that's when things hit the fan.
It's hard to hold a gun when it's 500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, you idiot! It looks...
Well, I suppose you can chalk that blunder up to lack of life experience. Not everyone knows heating up gunpowder is a really stupid idea, right? But what follows next is, well, downright diabolical.
I need to think.
You're a fascist murderer!
Shut up!
With the hostages and hostage takers all panicking and rightfully criticizing his actions, he completely snaps and kills everyone in the room, even the ones he was meant to save. This was the first moment he realized that in the real world, not everyone will praise him and do what he wants. He comes to his senses just as Noir turns up to see the carnage. Instead of facing up to his actions, however, he decides to beat two birds with one stone. Get rid of the one person who can destroy his career and also his only competition.
It's my turn. I paid my dues.
Unbelievably desperate trying to slice Noir in half, the silent assassin helps cover up Homelander's crimes. After cutting out the loose end, Noir writes a fake story on his notepad for Homelander to follow, making them out to be heroes who couldn't stop a bomb from going off. They tried their best but couldn't save anyone. This is where Homelander realizes that he doesn't have to be a real hero to be seen as one, which makes life so much easier. So by the time season 1 of The Boys starts, Homelander is the perfectly chiseled, cheesy grinning leader of the Seven, loved by all of America. The awkward mishap at the crew's chemical plant is long forgotten, and he is now on posters, news channels, stages, cereal boxes, toy shelves, military campaigns, and pretty much anywhere that can fit an image of his pecs. To the public, Homelander isn't just another Supe, he is the Supe.
What are you smiling at?
Now he's the perfect hero, at least visually. He knows how to inspire crowds, how to sound humble, when to sound patriotic, and when to pretend to care about civilians, even though he absolutely doesn't. This is what makes Homelander in Season 1 so creepy. He's not openly demanding people to support him yet, but beneath the costume, the monster's already taking shape. Those who know the real Homelander, however, are the members of the Seven and Madeline Stillwell. It's clear early on in Season 1 that they are barely a team and their moral compasses are almost non-existent thanks to their leader. One Supe who knows this better than anyone else is Queen Maeve.
I got excited, I'm sorry.
I'm sure you are.
You know the drill. He shot at us first.
Maeve is one of the only members of the Seven who has been around long enough to understand how bad things have gotten. She used to believe in heroism, or at least some version of it. But by Season 1, she's exhausted, bitter, and emotionally burnt out. She knows Vought lies, she knows the Seven are a sham, and most importantly, she knows Homelander is dangerous. That's how things stand when Annie January joins the team, better known as Starlight. She comes into the Seven still believing the idea of superheroes who exist to help people, but that dream is shattered pretty quickly when the Deep, who is also a member of the team, and a Supe with fish powers, forces her to do something horrible.
Just roll with the punches for like 3 minutes, maybe. It's not a big deal. And then you know what happens? All your dreams come true.
What makes this worse is that Vought cares more about image than justice, with Homelander happy to keep smiling like the Seven has never been stronger. Eventually, the mayor of Baltimore learns about Compound V and uses the information to try and pressure Madeline Stillwell. He wants a better deal from Vought, and he makes the huge mistake of thinking he's dealing with a normal corporation. So, to fix the little problem, Homelander takes things into his own hands. What makes killing the mayor and his son even more scary is the fact that Homie wasn't even doing it in a rage. He was calm and calculated. Oh, and speaking of plane disasters caused by America's little psycho, let's talk about Flight 37, arguably one of the most important moments of the show. When the passenger plane gets hijacked in the air, Homelander and Queen Maeve are sent to save it. On paper, it should have been an easy save for them. Maeve takes out the hijackers in the plane, but little do they know, there's one more in the cockpit. After not thinking things through, just like with the kidnappers at Cruise Chemical, the plane is doomed. Now, any self-respecting superhero would try and save as many people as possible, right? Well, not Homelander, who is more worried about the truth of his actions getting out.
No, you stay back! All of you, stay back! You stay the back or I'll laser you, goddammit! I'll laser every one of you!
This is the moment people got to see the real Homelander, who doesn't care what they think, because their opinion won't matter in a few minutes. Just like how Noir taught him to flip his monstrous actions into good PR before, he claims that it was terrorists who blew the plane up and uses it as leverage to let the Supes into the military. This would give Vought even more power. Vought wants the government contracts and political power.
Said they didn't have to die. We arrived 3 minutes after the plane went down. Why? Because we're not in the chain of command.
While Homelander wants the people to see Supes as not costumed entertainers, but weapons. This is where his secret plan with A-Train comes in. A-Train is another member of the Seven, and at the start of the show, he's the one who accidentally uses his supersonic speed to run straight through Huey's girlfriend, Robin. That one moment is what pulls Huey into the underground world of the anti-Supe activity. But A-Train isn't just important because of Robin, he's also tied directly to Homelander's bigger plan.
Well, I borrowed some Compound V, I had A-Train run it all over the globe, and I supercharged some jihadis.
That's right, Homie has been getting A-Train to move Compound V to dangerous groups so he can create superpowered terrorists or supervillains. So Vought can argue that the world needs superheroes in the military. Let's take a second to think about that though. Homelander is creating an incredibly dangerous threat, just so he can give Vought more power and subsequently gain more power himself. It's like starting a fire, then forcing people to buy your fire extinguishers. At this point, he's just not covering mistakes. He's literally creating problems. While all of this is happening, Stillwell is still trying to be his boss, support system, and manipulator to get what Vought wants. How does she do this? Well, let's just say Homelander doesn't just have daddy issues.
Bleeding nipples to quit now. I am doing this. That little kid is gonna drink my goddamn milk. It's the last thing I do.
Okay, moving on. Stillwell can keep Homelander under control, but she also lies to him, and that is dangerous. Homelander has a lot of triggers, and betrayal is one of the biggest things that causes him to start zapping heads off. Eventually, he not only starts to realize that Stillwell is hiding information from him, but he also becomes jealous of her actual baby, Teddy. This shows just how broken this guy is. He is jealous of a literal infant getting more attention. Has there ever been a more powerful metaphor? While feeling unwanted and rejected, Homelander makes a discovery that changes everything and sets the wheels in motion for his eventual end.
I'm your father. We are a family.
But before we get into this twisted family dynamic, we need to wind the clock back to the horrific events prior to the first episode of The Boys. Billy Butcher, the violent and very British leader of The Boys, has spent years hunting Homelander because he believes Homelander destroyed his life by assaulting and killing his wife, Becca, before Vought covered up her disappearance. Now, if there's one thing Butcher loves more than the C word, it's Becca, and nothing will stop him from getting his revenge. This is when Butcher takes Madeline Stillwell and straps explosives to her to lure out Homelander.
You think I'm responsible for her death, don't you? So now you have a hostage that I care about, right?
Becca Butcher worked at Vought International as the senior director of digital marketing. In flashbacks, we see her at a Vought Christmas party with Billy. At this point, Billy is still not the rough and ready, foul-mouthed Supe hunter he later becomes.
Thank you. Great to meet you, pal.
Good to meet you.
Love that accent.
Seeing Billy Butcher without a beard is like seeing a team mascot not wearing its head. It just feels weird. But back to the standoff. Butcher's plan is to blow up Homelander's only weakness, Stillwell, and hurt him emotionally. But I don't think Butcher realizes just how warped this guy is. Yep, just like that, Homie cuts the leash, but not before discovering that his supposed stillborn child is actually alive. With the plan out the window, Butcher triggers the explosives anyway. Unbelievably, Homelander saves him. But this isn't to be kind. It's to torture him with the realization that Becca is alive and that they have a son together. A result of Homelander forcing himself upon the poor woman. This is where Vought sinks to even lower lows, hiding Ryan away as the priceless commodity he is to them. First of all, he is the world's first natural-born Supe, and secondly, it provides them with a second Homelander. Thanks to Becca making a deal to play along with the fantasy family, Butcher is able to escape and goes to visit Grace Mallory. Mallory is a former CIA officer who helped create the original version of The Boys. She is older, colder, and far more experienced than most people dealing with the corruption of Vought. After some persuading, they come up with a plan. While the boys work to clear their names, Becca is forced to live through the nightmare of Homelander's fake family fantasy, which shows he still can't break away from the manufactured life Vought created for him. Ryan's childhood, however, is nothing like Homelander's. He has a loving mother and everything he could ever want. Well, except for friends, as he's pretty much a prisoner. In this sterile environment, Homelander believes he can manipulate Ryan into becoming exactly who he wants.
You and me. We're gods.
A normal father would have just read him a story, but not this guy. Homelander becomes obsessed with Ryan, and he sees the boy as proof that in the right environment away from the lab, he could have had the unconditional love he craved. But the problem is, Homelander doesn't understand fatherhood as love. He sees it as possession and control, just like Dr. Vogelbaum taught him. This dynamic puts Becca in a really painful spot. She is trying to protect Ryan from Vought, from Homelander, and in some ways from Butcher. Because when Butcher finally sees Ryan, he doesn't instantly act like a loving stepdad. His hatred of Supes is just too deep, and when Butcher tries to break them out in Season 2, Becca's worst fear is confirmed.
He's a Supe freak.
This results in an impossible situation. Becca loves Ryan, Butcher loves Becca, and wants his old life back. Homelander wants Ryan as his only real family he has, and Vought wants to control of their billion-dollar asset. It's in this season that Homelander tries to force his way into Ryan's life and teach him what he thinks strength means, going completely against the soft, ordinary childhood Becca has already built. Yeah, I don't think he'll be getting a #1 dad mug anytime soon. It's this strange obsession with Ryan that makes the boy one of the most influential characters in the entire show. He's pulled between the unconditional love of Becca and Homelander seeing him as his legacy and forcing him to grow into the Supe life too soon. To stir things up further, this is when Stormfront joins the Seven. Stormfront is introduced as a social media savvy rebel, but underneath the edgy personality and jokes, it's revealed she was a literal Nazi from the 1940s who doesn't age, just like Soldier Boy.
Frederick Vought.
He gave me the first successful V injection.
She goes on to tell Homelander how she fell in love with Vought's founder, Frederick Vought, after he made her special. Stormfront has been around long enough to know how to deal with the tyrannical men, so she feeds into Homelander's ego and encourages his superiority complex. She is ultimately giving Homelander exactly what he craves: worship.
You will be the man who will lead us.
Stormfront also pushes Homelander's obsession with Ryan in an even uglier direction. She doesn't see Ryan as a child who needs protecting. She sees him as a part of the future, a perfect bloodline. Near the end of Season 2, Becca escapes with Ryan and Butcher. For a moment, it looks like they might actually get away, but that's when Stormfront catches them and tries to kill Becca to get Ryan. Here's when Homelander's influence takes over. Homelander not only showed him how powerful he was, but he also instilled in the boy his weakest trait: lashing out emotionally without thinking about the consequences. Becca's dying wish is for Butcher to keep Ryan safe. For Butcher, this is the ultimate test. He hates Supes, he hates that Ryan is Homelander's kid, and he hates that Ryan just took away the love of his life. But how could you deny your wife's dying wish? When Homelander arrives, he finds his fantasy family is shattered in an instant. With Stormfront blown to pieces and barely alive, Becca dead, and Ryan knowing what he needs to do. It looks like Butcher is about to feel the wrath of Homelander, but that's when Queen Maeve shows up and threatens to release a video capturing what happened on Flight 37 in 4K.
As long as everyone sees what a monster you are. As long as no one ever loves you again.
Maeve uses his greatest weakness to control him, just like how Vought did. Moving into Season 3 of The Boys, to say Homelander isn't in a good place is an understatement. He's lost Ryan, Becca is dead, Stormfront has been exposed as a Nazi, and looks worse than Anakin Skywalker on Mustafar. His whole fake family fantasy has collapsed. Maeve has the Flight 37 video. Vought is still trying to control him, and for the first time, his public image is cracked. The biggest humiliation comes when Vought promotes Starlight because they need her wholesome appearance to help fix the public perception of Vought.
Which is why the board wants to make you co-captain of the Seven. What?
For someone who has always wanted control and worship, this is one of the worst things that could have ever happened. The final cherry on top is when Homie discovers that Stormfront, who had been carrying on their relationship in the most disgusting way possible, decided to put herself out of her misery. This happens on Homelander's birthday and just before he goes on stage with his new co-captain. After getting heckled by an audience member, Homelander finally snaps, but this time on live television.
I don't make mistakes. I'm not just like the rest of you. I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better.
For Vought, it should have been a PR nightmare, but it turns out a large chunk of the public actually liked it. Homelander expected to be punished, but instead he realizes that some people like him more when he stops pretending to be someone he isn't. Now the idea that Stormfront planted in him, that he doesn't need everyone to like him, has been proven to be true.
21 points. They loved your speech? A massive 44% uptick with white males in the Rust Belt.
I think this is one of the only times a Vought employee has told Homelander something without being absolutely terrified. With Homelander in the worst place we've ever seen him in, and knowing he can get attention from certain groups by speaking his mind, Stan Edgar gets worried. Stan Edgar, the CEO of Vought, is one of the few people in The Boys who can talk to Homelander without sounding scared. Calm, cold, precise, and sees Homie as nothing more than an investment. That is what makes him so interesting. As he has never liked being seen as a product, Homelander starts working against Edgar. He teams up with Victoria Newman, a politician who is secretly a Supe herself and can literally make heads explode. Homelander gives her something she wants, and she turns on Stan publicly, helping push him out of Vought.
The company is yours. No one left to stand up to you. But I think you'll come to sorely regret that.
With Stan Edgar gone, there's no one else to cover for him. One wrong move, or poor business decision, everything Homelander has left would crumble to the ground. Now that he sits in the big chair, Homelander starts testing loyalty in nastier ways. For example, with the Deep desperate to get back into Homelander's good graces, Homelander makes him eat his friend Timothy the Octopus. At this point, it's not leadership, it's a bully watching people squirm, just like Timothy's tentacles as he gets chomped on.
Wasn't that delicious?
Well, that's me off seafood for life. Then there's A-Train. A-Train is still trying to survive inside the Seven despite being diagnosed with a serious heart illness. When a Supe named Supersonic starts talking about helping Starlight and Maeve against Homelander, A-Train tells the big man, and Homelander responds in his obvious style.
Alex! Oh my god! You psycho!
Supersonic, who used to date Starlight, was killed solely because Starlight dared conspire against Homie's control. With Starlight becoming a threat, he does what he always does. He turns her into part of the theatrics.
It's time we let the world know. Starlight and I are in love.
Of course, manufacturing a fake relationship with Starlight is just another way to keep playing the puppet master. With Homelander now completely off the rails and somehow getting away with it, the boys start looking for the only Supe who can rival his powers, and they've hit the jackpot. It turns out that the legendary patriotic Supe was betrayed by his own team and handed over to the Russians, who kept him asleep with Novichok nerve gas. When Butcher and Huey find him, they realize that Soldier Boy has the ability to blast Compound V out of Supes, ultimately making them normal humans. When Homelander discovers Soldier Boy is alive and hunts him down at a Supe party called Herogasm for the first time, Homelander is challenged physically. Although he manages to escape before Soldier Boy can blast him, it leaves Homelander shook. Up until now, Homelander's entire personality is built on the belief that nobody can really touch him. The public might turn on him, Starlight might conspire against him, and Maeve might blackmail him. But physically, he is unbeatable. Then suddenly he finds out that he's not. In fact, he was forced to run away like a scared child. And he doesn't even know that it was his dad yet that nearly beat him. This is a massive crack in his growing god complex.
Is that concealer? Do you have a bruise?
Things get even more personal when Homelander does discover Soldier Boy is his biological father. This drags him way back to where everything started, to when he had no family, no real childhood, or normal love. Instead, he got tested on by doctors and molded into a brand. Now, all of a sudden, he has a father, someone who could help him heal his wounds by approving of him.
If they'd have just kept me around, I'd have let you take the spotlight. What father wouldn't want that for his son?
While at first he is saying all the right things, Soldier Boy is far too selfish to fill the role Homelander craves. Soldier Boy isn't father material. He is a violent, bitter, emotionally stunted relic with his own long list of horrible actions. Increasingly, this is a mirror of Butcher's upbringing. Only his dad was around to show how horrible he was. Ironically, this is how Homelander treats Ryan. Cruelty disguised as tough love. Eventually, Soldier Boy sees his son's weakness, neediness, and desperation. Basically, he sees everything Homelander has spent his whole life trying to hide.
Maybe if I'd raised you, I could have made you better. And not some weak, sniveling starved for attention.
Whoa, if words could cut, that's like a chainsaw through a paper. The rejection is devastating because it strips away everything Homie has achieved. He might be a Vought leader and a hero to certain people, but emotionally, he was just sent right back to feeling like an unwanted child looking to get a father who wants nothing to do with him. Eventually, he discovers that Noir knew the truth about Soldier Boy being alive and his father, and that's enough to send him off the edge. The sad thing is, Noir never speaks, but Homelander considered him an actual friend. A friend he could easily kill because he felt betrayed. Okay, Noir might not have shown complete loyalty by keeping Soldier Boy's secret, but Noir had good reason to be scared of Soldier Boy. After that, can you really blame him for not wanting Soldier Boy around anymore? Season 3's finale brings everything together. At this point, Homelander has managed to manipulate Ryan into choosing him over Butcher. Ryan is scared of his father, but he also is scared that he can't control his powers. Something Homelander can help with. Homelander thinks he can have a genuine family now, especially if Soldier Boy joins them, but that's when the brutal rejection happens and all hell breaks loose.
Ryan!
I never thought I'd see Butcher and Homelander working together, even if it's short-lived. After Soldier Boy attacks Ryan, Butcher's whole revenge plan goes out the window. He may hate Supes and he may want Homelander dead, but he made Becca a promise: protect her son. And as much as he hates it, Soldier Boy is a bigger threat to Ryan than Homelander is. So Butcher turns against his new ally while Maeve goes against Homelander. The whole thing becomes utter chaos once again. Homelander is reminded that he can still be made to bleed. In fact, Maeve looks like she's about to take Homelander out, until Soldier Boy starts powering up his blast to avoid being captured again. After that, Butcher tries to convince Ryan to come with him, but the boy asks his real father to take him home instead. In a way, Homelander got what he wanted, someone willingly choosing him. Later, Homelander brings Ryan out in public. He introduces him to his supporters and shows him the crowd. Not everyone is cheering though, as a protester throws a plastic bottle at Ryan. Obviously, the boy is a Supe, so he isn't injured at all. But Homelander doesn't care. To him, the guy's just disrespected his bloodline. At this point, it's the worst thing he's done publicly, but his supporters cheer him on. Now he realizes that he can show the world even more of his true nature, and better yet, Ryan seems to like it too. This brings us into Season 4, where the genie has been let out of the bottle. Before now, Homelander's whole life was built around the mask he wore. Smile for the cameras, say the right thing, and stand in front of the American flag. If things go wrong, Vought would just clean up the blood in private. But after the public murder, something shifts.
I don't want your support. You're on trial for murder. Hi, Doug!
1, that's a formality. And 2, that's a clear-cut case of self-defense.
Even if they did find him guilty, there's no cell that could hold him. let alone one big enough to hold his ego. But before we get fully into Season 4, we need to look at the small role he had in the spin-off show Gen V, which gives a glimpse of his mindset after Season 3. Gen V takes place at Godolphin University, a VOD-run college for young Supes. On the surface, it's sold like a superhero training school where classes are about rankings, celebrity status, and career paths.
I'm super focused.
I'm super inclusive.
I'm super curious. I'm super abled.
What kind of super are you?
But because this is VOD, there is obviously something horrific underneath it. The school is connected to a secret facility called the Woods, where Supes are experimented on. One of the biggest discoveries in this series is a virus that can target Supes.
I am this close to perfecting the virus.
That is a massive deal because for the first time, there's something that could potentially kill people like Homelander on a massive scale. For those new to The Boys, you may want to keep this in mind. By the end of the first season, Godolphin has fallen into chaos. Kate and Sam, two students, are attacking humans on campus, while Marie, Andre, Jordan, and Emma, the students who discover Vought's underground testing lab, try to stop the violence. That's when Homelander turns up.
Do you like attacking your own kind?
No.
Stay back!
Yep, Homelander doesn't see that the Supes are protecting people from actual bad Supes. He just has a problem with them attacking their own kind. This moment is important in the Homelander story because it shows how far his worldview has moved. He's not even pretending that human lives matter, he's just thinking in terms of species. Just like how he reacted when Ryan was hit with a bottle. He openly attacked someone knowing it could be covered up, or in this case, blamed on the students who were actually trying to do some good. Now, back to Season 4 of The Boys, where he's on trial for killing the protester, and surprise, surprise, it goes in his favor.
Not guilty!
Well, that lawyer got the easiest win of his career. Once again, Homelander proves that he is untouchable. And to make things worse, his supporters now see him as a persecuted savior. This is where things turn violent between the Starlighters and Homelander's supporters. People are now on Homie's side, but there's still a problem. He wants control, but doesn't have enough humanity in him to do it well. He wants to rule everything, but doesn't want to have the patience. Take him telling the Deep to go, well, deep on A-Train.
Get off your face. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Not one of you has the stomach to challenge anything I say. Oh my God.
Enter Sister Sage. Sage is one of the most important new characters in Season 4 because her superpower is her intelligence. Literally. So if you want to be a real-life Supe, stay in school, kids. Sage understands media, politics, anger, race, power, resentment, and the way people can be pushed. She understands that Homelander is dangerous, but she isn't scared because she treats him like she treats everything else in the world. Predictable.
Stylist is dyeing your hair more often. Used to be every month, now it's every 2.4 weeks. Did she tell you you're going gray, or is she hiding?
Sherlock Holmes, eat your heart out. This means Homelander brings the rage, but Sage can give that rage a plan. This is possibly the worst situation ever, as Homelander on his own is terrifying, but he's also messy. Sage is different though. She treats life like a chess game, always several moves ahead. So when Homelander brings her in, he thinks he's getting someone to serve him. What he actually gets is someone who can turn his chaos into a political weapon, just like Vought. Then there's Firecracker. She's not brought in because of her powers alone, but because of how she can manipulate audiences. The ultimate weapon for someone with an unhealthy need for acceptance.
These people got nothing. Maybe they lost a job or a house or a kid to Oxy. And politicians don't give a. Mainstream media tells them to be ashamed of their skin colors.
She is a conspiracy-driven media Supe who knows exactly how to talk to Homelander's fanbase. She can stir them up and send them out on enemies like the Starlighters.
Now I see the conniving little mean girl in there. And when I'm done, the rest of the world's gonna see it too.
This is a powerful weapon for Homelander, even if Firecracker's actual power is pretty weak compared to other Supes. What also helps is how pathetically loyal she is, literally willing to do anything for him. She worships him, flatters him, and taps into his need to be adored and not just obeyed out of fear. How far is she willing to go? Well, that's me off dairy for life. Great. Firecracker starts taking medication so she can produce breast milk. She does it because she knows Homelander's milk fixation stems back to his messed up mommy issues. Now she can show how devoted she is by LARPing as his mother and giving him comfort and intimacy. Together, Sage and Firecracker prove everything he needs at this moment. And I'm not just talking about the milk. Sage gives him the brain he doesn't have, and Firecracker gives him the audience who can be manipulated. And worse yet, think every bad decision Homelander makes is gold.
We need the algorithm to find the most receptive users, then blast the articles to the top of their social feeds until 100 million people are outraged by Starlight for reasons they can't even explain.
With Homelander shaping Vought to be his own private cheerleading squad, things look dangerous for those who don't fit in with the new order. This includes Ashley.
The meeting of the Seven. You're not a member.
But I'm always here.
Well, Sage is going to take over your workload. For all intents and purposes, she's the new CEO.
Ashley Barrett has spent years surviving Vought by smiling, panicking, managing disasters, and pretending she has control over the things that have turned to absolute chaos thanks to Homelander and the Seven. Now, as the CEO in name only, instead of managing Homie, she is reduced to a mascot of the company. Homelander is now paranoid after learning someone is leaking information. This means his worst fear has come true. Someone isn't being loyal. This turns Vought into a witch hunt with staff members, analysts, executives, assistants, and anyone who may know the old secret becoming prisoners of the monster they helped protect. It's part of Season 4 where Homelander decides to go back to the lab he was raised in, where John was tested, watched, controlled, and shaped into Vought's perfect product. There he finds people who were involved in his childhood, scientists who remember him as a frightened little boy called John, and things get uncomfortable.
You're just doing your job, right?
I mean, can you really feel sorry for these guys? They are responsible for what Homelander has become. He hates the fact that there are people who still remember him as weak and scared, and Barbara makes it even worse. Barbara is also connected to those early years, and she understands exactly how Vought controlled him. She knows that his need for love and approval was programmed into him to keep him manageable.
We couldn't have stopped you, but you didn't, because you couldn't stand the idea that we would be disappointed in you. Your need for approval and for love, but brought in the best psychologists in the world.
Homelander massacres the rest of the team, but leaves Barbara alive so she can experience why he calls the lab the bad room. To Homelander, he's proving he has moved past the trauma and taking power back. But what it really shows is that emotionally, he never left that room. At this point, he is becoming more and more unstable. He's aging, finding gray hairs in his man garden, and realizing that eventually he will grow old and frail, just like every human on the planet. I think it's time he collects something a little healthier, like Pokemon cards or something. That fear of aging also makes Ryan even more important to him. Even if he wouldn't be around forever, at least his bloodline will. He wants Ryan on camera, celebrated and worshipped. Ultimately, he wants him to become just like his dad. But the problem is, Ryan is also part Rebecca too. He was raised by her and knows what love is because of her, and he still feels guilt, confusion, empathy, and fear. He wants approval from his dad, but his purely human emotions set him apart from Homelander.
It was on your father's orders.
What?
In Flight 37, Homelander killed every soul on board.
While Homelander is trying to mold Ryan, the political plot around him gets darker. With the help of Victoria Newman, Robert Singer is on the track to become president. Singer is a powerful politician who hates Vought. This obviously makes him a massive problem for Homelander. If he becomes president, then he could cause huge problems for the company. For Homelander, it would be much better if Vice President Newman became the president. With Singer out of the picture, Newman is a secret Supe who has already made deals with Homelander. So from his point of view, Singer is a problem while Newman is open to shady dealings. Sage comes up with a plan that isn't just about winning an election. It's far bigger than that. Her plan also involves a shape-shifting Supe known as the Shifter. Basically, this Supe can copy another person's appearance. The Shifter kidnaps Starlight and takes her form to get close to Robert Singer so they can assassinate him and blame Annie. Luckily, the real Starlight shows up and takes her identity back.
Singer's alive, your assassin failed. Now the CIA is gonna find an even deeper hole to hide him in.
So the good guys win, right? Not exactly. When it comes to Sage, the first person isn't always the real plan. The real aim is chaos. If Singer dies, great. If Singer survives, but the country still panics, turns on its enemies, and opens the door to Homelander's side to take control, that works just as well. So Newman tries to get out, for once. She realizes she probably won't survive long by sticking with the Homelander. She goes to the boys and tries to make a deal, not because she wants to do the right thing, but because she knows Homelander is too unhinged. At this point, he's not even listening to Sage anymore.
Simple. You help me get clear of Homelander and Singer's people at the CIA, and I go quietly.
But before they can put the plan into motion, Butcher turns up and rips her in two like a chicken tender. You see, at this point, Butcher is dying of a brain tumor and doesn't have long to live. But after Ryan accidentally kills Butcher's CIA handler Grace, he realizes he needs more time. This is why he steals Compound V from Frenchie's desk. Frenchie has been with the boys from the start. He is a weapons expert and a chemist, so if anyone's going to have Compound V lying around, of course it's him. Butcher takes it, turning the cancer inside him into the source of his Supe power. So while Homelander is becoming more of a monster inwardly, Butcher is becoming one outwardly. Newman's death creates the opening Sage wanted. Singer is blamed and removed from power, and the political structure shifts, and suddenly Homelander is standing in the Oval Office with someone far more willing to bend the knee. That person is Steve Calhoun, who becomes president after Singer is taken out of the picture. Unlike Singer, Calhoun is not interested in standing up to Homelander. He understands exactly who holds all the power.
I am declaring martial law and deputizing hundreds of superheroes nationwide who will report directly to Homelander himself.
Now, Homelander has the last key to complete power. The boys are scattered and captured. Then comes the purge. Homelander doesn't want any loose ends, especially those working for Vought who know too much. This is when he orders the Deep to take out employees along with the new Black Noir, who was cast as an actor to cover up his death. At the top of the list is Ashley. Overhearing this, she takes drastic measures to survive. If you can't beat them, join them, I guess. By the end of season 4, the boys are broken. Only Butcher and Starlight manage to escape, but the others are put in a camp. While Butcher holds the same Supe-killing virus introduced in the spin-off show Gen V, Homelander seems to have won. His enemies are gone, he has total control of America, and he also gets his father back. But as they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. This brings us to the 5th and final season of The Boys. Huey, Frenchie, and MM are locked inside freedom camps, which are obviously just political prisons disguised as something much nicer. MM, whose real name is Marvin Milk, has been with the boys from the beginning. He is the team's organizer, moral compass, and one of the few people who can keep Butcher from turning every plan into a bloodbath. He has spent years fighting Vought, not because he enjoys the chaos, but because Soldier Boy killed his grandfather and Vought helped cover it up.
You killed my family.
Which one?
Seeing him locked away by the same Supe-controlled system he has spent years fighting is just tragic. Homelander in Season 5 really does feel like his final form. He no longer is sneaking around trying to protect the hero image. He's not waiting for Sitwell or Stan Edgar or Ashley to tell him what the polls say and how it affects the numbers. He's not even worrying about the next scandal he'll be tied up in. He is now the version of himself he strived for, godlike. In fact, he doesn't just want to act like God, he thinks he will become one through an insane hallucination of Stillwell.
You're about to ascend, become immortal, divine, a true God with the love of the world.
Well, that isn't terrifying at all. The irony is, no matter how much he takes what he wants, no matter how much raw power he has, he can't run away from the fact that he's growing old and will eventually die.
Because I'm gonna live, and you'll die. If the virus doesn't get you, time will. And when you're sitting in that wheelchair in a colostomy bag, I'll be running the 7.
A true God is immortal. That is where V1 comes in. It's tied to the earliest version of Compound V, the same version that made Soldier Boy immortal. This means not even the Supe-killing virus will stop him, something Butcher and the rest of the crew found out.
A lot has happened today.
How? We were there. They all got infected. We watched them die.
Oh no. He's got V1 in his bloodstream.
This starts an obsession for Homelander. With V1, he will rule forever. The problem is nobody knows if any of the original formula even exists. Season 5 shows the most unhinged version of Homelander, especially when it comes to his dad, who keeps rejecting him, mocking him, and rubbing it in his face that he will never rise to his level. The sick part is, the brainwashing from Homelander's upbringing keeps him coming back like a lovesick puppy. Homelander is trying to use him, impress him, control him, put him down, and be accepted by him all at once.
Your brother won a Silver Star for bravery at Anzio, and that's what made you beg your father to buy you a spot in Dr. Vought's trials, because it killed you.
Outside of his immortality issues, the only thing he needs to complete his messed up idea of perfection is to have a family. But with Soldier Boy at least open to being in the same room as him, He is looking to get Ryan back on his side. The problem is he has a conscience and is growing up. He's starting to choose his own sides, and knowing what Homelander did to Becca, that side isn't with his dad. This rejection leads to one of the most brutal and horrific scenes in The Boys. This is the moment that Homelander shows exactly what he feels about family. It was never about love, it's about possession. When he sees rejection or disobedience, no matter who it is, they must be punished. This stems way back to how Vought raised him. He doesn't understand why people don't choose to stick around, just like in the bad room of the lab, despite how badly they are treated. Ryan now sees what everyone else does. He's not just scared of Homelander anymore. Homelander wants Ryan to look at him like a god, but instead Ryan now sees what everyone else does, a monster.
Scaring people into calling you God doesn't make you God. And deep down you know that.
This rejection pushes Homelander even further into the God complex, because if family won't accept him, the worship of the country will. If his son rejects him, then millions of followers, the children of God, definitely won't turn their backs on him. This is what we've seen with Homelander throughout The Boys. Unlike his physical body, his emotional wounds never heal. They just become infected and scale up the delusion. And the terrifying thing is, millions of people are accepting him as a god at this point. His supporters are now believers. Firecracker and Vought News keep feeding them the delusion through the media. They think Starlighters are terrorists, and anyone not willing to worship him will be wiped out by Supes willing to get their hands dirty for their new Lord and Savior. This is where Oh Father becomes important. Oh Father is an evangelical Supe and religious leader who is a massive hypocrite to his faith. He is corrupt and just as power-hungry as anyone else left at Vought. This is why he's happy to switch faith at the drop of a hat and let a now supercharged Ashley use him as her plaything. That comes with a ball gag accessory.
We really gotta get you a stronger ball gag.
The way you punish my sin pit, ain't no ball gag in the world strong enough.
Let's hope he doesn't use that line at his next sermon. At first, Oh Father and Firecracker try to frame Homelander as a prophet who was created by immaculate conception. Basically Jesus, but with laser eyes and a preference for leather boots over sandals. But Homelander doesn't like that, because a prophet serves someone higher. To him, he is the god. Obviously, everyone around him agrees that Firecracker helps push this even further with the Homelander Bible. Yep, the Homelander Bible, coming to a hotel bedside table near you. While up to this point, Firecracker has been one of Homelander's loudest supporters, even she can see he's going too far. When her old church gets pulled into the madness, she agrees to attack the people from her former life by smearing them on air. At this point, she knows she has committed blasphemy against the god she grew up worshipping. Struggling, Firecracker confides in Soldier Boy after the two grow close, but this turns out to be an awful choice.
I believed in you. Turns out, you don't believe in me.
This shows that for Homelander, acting out the fantasy of what he wants isn't enough anymore. Just like with Becca, Ryan, Soldier Boy, and even Firecracker, he doesn't just want people to play along. He wants them to consider it as real as he does. Nearing the end of Season 5, Butcher is getting closer to deciding whether all Supe should die by releasing the virus. Ryan is caught between a father who wants to turn him into a spiritual symbol and a messed up stepfather whose hatred for Supes could see him going back on his promise to Becca and taking Ryan out with the rest of the Supes.
I throw this virus at him. What'll happen to me?
He'll die.
Homelander can feel the threat closing in and remembers that Soldier Boy survived the Supe virus because he was originally injected with V1. Soldier Boy goes along with his son, which gives Homelander exactly what he wants: a father figure and a path to immortality. Homelander and Soldier Boy eventually infiltrate Fort Harmony, believing that they are working together to hunt down the boys. From Homelander's point of view, this is exactly what he wants. Father and son side by side hunting enemies, but in truth, Soldier Boy is working with Sister Sage. Sage knows that if Homelander gets V1, he becomes even harder to stop. So instead of helping him, Soldier Boy double-crosses him.
They'd stick us Supes in there to see if we could survive an atomic bomb. Now for normal Joe, they'd be dead in minutes. But for you, it's a stomach flu. Good luck, though. Getting out of a soup-proof cell while you're bleeding out of your ass.
When Homelander eventually escapes the searing pain of the cell, he confronts Soldier Boy, who is crying. It turns out a fellow V1 subject, Quinn, had mutated into a plant creature and is now left to suffer for decades. This stirs up all the trauma Soldier Boy went through, and in a rare moment that's totally out of character, Homelander lets him live despite the betrayal. After this, they still need someone who knows Vought's oldest secrets. That is where the Deep comes in. The Deep, who has somehow survived this entire story by being pathetic, loyal, and useful at exactly the right moments, brings Stan Edgar to Homelander.
Reds.
It wasn't personal. It was a business decision. We had your replacement model on the way. Even as a toddler, Homelander showed more promise than you ever did.
After threatening his granddaughter, Zoe, Stan finally points them towards Los Angeles and Mr. Marathon. Mr. Marathon is a washed-up former member of the Seven, the fastest man in the world who came before A-Train. Now he's hiding out in Hollywood with a group of celebrities because apparently even in the apocalypse, someone's got to keep networking. Homelander and Soldier Boy go looking for the V1, but Mr. Marathon has his own plan. He brings in Malchemical, another Supe, to ambush Homelander.
Oh, who's memorable now?
What the f?
Easy.
If there's ever been a good sign to brush your teeth, it's this. Now, unbelievably, Homelander is in a situation that could end him. Mr. Marathon and his gang try to convince Soldier Boy to blast Homelander's powers away, but that's when they realize they read the whole situation wrong.
But as much as it pains me to say this, he's my asexual weirdo. Nobody my son but me.
What?
That came out wrong.
The messed up thing is that this is the nicest thing Soldier Boy has ever said about his son. What happens next is complete carnage. Soldier Boy kills Malchemical and uses Mr. Marathon's speed against him by putting down baby lotion to trip him up. I really don't want to ask who Mr. Marathon bought this mansion from, but I think the hint is the name of Puff Baby Oil. This is a massive moment for Homelander, as it's really the first time he has had the closest thing to a loving family moment.
I took care of it.
Why?
Because them. That's why.
Eventually, the trail leads to Bombsight. Bombsight is one of Soldier Boy's former teammates and one of the older generation Supes that was injected with V1. It turns out that Bombsight wants to live a natural life with his love, Goldie, for however long she has left. Luckily for Bombsight, Soldier Boy has the ability to take his powers away.
I'd do it for the V1.
There's something quite poetic about a man trading the source of immortality so he can have his immortality taken away. Sounds like something out of a Greek tragedy. Now, this is where Sage's plan to stop Homelander's immortality should kick in. But instead, that's when Homelander shows up with his last chance to become a god, moments away from being destroyed. Homelander is ready to take it by force. But that's when Soldier Boy makes a move nobody sees coming. Yep, just like that, Soldier Boy made up for every single birthday he missed. So why did he do this? Well, he brings up the woman he loved, Clara, better known as Stormfront. Soldier Boy says that Clara always thought he was the ultimate Supe, but she was wrong, because she hadn't met Homelander yet. If only he knew how Homelander left her, until she decided to put herself out of her misery of being with him. But for Soldier Boy, he is honoring his former love, not just helping his son. But all is not lost, as the boys now know that there's one more way to end Homelander. Back in Season 3, Soldier Boy's radiation blast could burn the Compound V out of Supes and take their powers away. This gives the boys a new plan. Their last plan. If the virus can't touch him now, the only way forward is to remove his powers.
Soldier Boy's flashy tip blast got me thinking. He weren't born with that power. The Ivans gave it to him through a consistent application of scientific methodology.
They threw an atom bomb worth of radiation at him.
Right.
That's right, they planned to make Kimiko the equivalent of Homelander bug spray. Kimiko has been with the boys since Frenchie and the others saved her. She's a Supe with brutal strength, healing powers, and a lot more humanity than most of the Supes in the entire show. She's been used as a weapon before by criminals who captured her, as well as by the boys. Once again, the team needs her body to survive something nobody else can. But this doesn't mean the gang doesn't care about her, especially Frenchie, who loves her deeply, but at this point, they have no choice.
She will not recover from another attempt. This is it.
Enough, she's dying.
Don't!
Frenchie, Kimiko, and Sister Sage carry on their work, but unbeknownst to them, a psychic shapeshifter named Synapse captures Butcher and Huey and finds out where they are. When Homelander turns up, Frenchie makes the ultimate sacrifice to take attention away from Kimiko and Sage, who are hiding in a zinc boiler, the only material Homelander can't see through. This is a huge moment for the show, as it's the first moment a member of the boys is actually killed by Homelander. And for Kimiko, who has just lost the man that saved her, the experiment has to work. If not, Frenchie lost his life and their future together for nothing. This brings us to the final chapter of Homelander. After the lab, after Vought, after Stillwell, after Becca, after Ryan, after Stormfront, after Soldier Boy, after the trials, the rallies, the murders, and the whole country slowly bending to his will, he finally comes to the end of the road. At this point, Homelander has become the ultimate monster that is always growing inside of him. He no longer needs to pretend to care about anyone in his life anymore. Take the pathetically loyal Deep, who gets the hardest slap of reality we've seen through the show.
The only reason that I haven't killed you is that I want you to feel deep in your heart how truly worthless you really are.
Considering all the messed up things the Deep has done for Homelander, this is, well, super messed up. This moment shows something more than how Homelander no longer needs anyone, but also shows how the Deep has only been kept around because Homelander has been projecting on him from the very start, whether Homelander realizes it or not. The neediness, the humiliation, the desperation to be wanted, the constant crawling back to anyone who might give him approval. Homelander sees all of that in the Deep, and he hates it because even subconsciously he sees himself in it. Right after this, Homelander addresses the public from the Oval Office, telling them how he is now their god and ruler. But as he reads from the teleprompter, reading words put in his mouth by others, just like how it was when Vought controlled him, he finally snaps.
But no matter what I do, some of you people will never accept me into your hearts. Never love me. Never believe in me.
To say he's triggered would be an understatement. Finally, the world starts to see that they are not worshipping their favorite Supe. They are not worshipping a god. They have blindly followed a tyrant, just like how Stormfront and Frederick Vought did in 1930s Germany. If cracks had been showing throughout the entire show, now is when the facade has finally shattered. Take away the ridiculously tight-fitting rubber, the bleach-dyed hair, the fake farm boy image, the patriotic speeches. Take away Soldier Boy and Ryan and the bloodline fantasy, the rallies, the trials, Vought news, firecracker spreading propaganda, Oh Father preaching his godliness, the worship and the immortality. What are we left with? The scared little boy called John. And right here is when Billy Butcher turns up.
I was starting to think you weren't going to hold up your end of our deal.
Scotch death.
At this point, Homelander's story could never really end without Billy Butcher standing there. The two fates had been locked together from the beginning. Homelander destroyed Butcher's life after taking Becca, and Butcher became the one human who kept coming back again and again to challenge him, and now it's their last stand. The sad thing is, Homelander's evil seemed to have infected Butcher, just like all the people around him. By the finale, both of them have become the worst versions of themselves. As the fight rages on, Butcher orders Kimiko to blast Homie. Homelander realizes the plan and tries to run away, but Butcher managed to catch him with his tentacles. He tries to escape again, but this time Ryan crashes in to stop him. Fueled by his son's ultimate betrayal, Homelander starts to get the upper hand in the fight. Kimiko tries to blast Homelander, but she can't do it because she doesn't have the rage to fuel it. She's just filled with grief. But this is when a hallucination of Frenchie turns up and tells her she has been powerful all along and doesn't need to be ruled by emotion. This is the moment that Butcher And let's face it, most of the world we're waiting for. Homelander is stripped of everything that made him powerful, worshipped, feared, and now for the first time we get to see John. I feel like we're seeing a scene from The Boys before the VFX team gets their hands on it. More importantly, the rest of the fight is between two normal men who promise to fight to the death, or as Homelander first put it, scorched earth. This becomes the ultimate realization. While he has lived and hated the fabricated life Vought created for him, he never hated the biggest fantasy of them all. Beneath the soup juice and cape, Homelander has no strength. Butcher savors every punch and lets Homelander humiliate himself on live television, ultimately tearing down the image he has created throughout The Boys in seconds.
You can do whatever you want with it, okay? Becca, you want your wife back. I'll have a shapeshifter be her.
That one offer sealed his fate and shows he has learned nothing through his rise to power. He doesn't understand love. He thinks people can just be replaced. Then the moment comes where Butcher finally gets revenge for Becca.
No, you ain't nothing. And this is for my Becca.
And that is the pathetic end of Homelander. He's made powerless and exposed, but that moment also exposes Butcher. Ryan watches his father get killed, defenseless, begging, and purely human. This is when Ryan decides Butcher isn't a hero either. In fact, he's just become as dangerous as his father. So he tells Butcher he wants nothing to do with him.
And it's better that he's gone. But you're not a good person either.
This is where the ending gets even darker, and Homelander's influence is still clearly influencing Butcher. Instead of walking away, he decides that all Supes need to die, to prevent another Homelander situation. What started as a hatred-fueled vendetta against Homelander has eaten Butcher away too long. Now he's lost control.
Just pull this trigger, and it rains kill juice on all 99 floors. It'll be worldwide within a couple of days.
Why?
In a twisted way, Butcher believes he can also play God by causing a genocide. Unable to change his mind, Huey has no choice but to step in and bring the wild story of The Boys to a close. And that's the entire story of Homelander's rise to godlike status and eventual destruction. What character from The Boys should we focus on next? Butcher, Starlight, Huey, or maybe Frenchie? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, share this video, do all those awesome things you people do, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.